mentioned last time that
No. Do you want me to talk about something or ask you a question? No. You want to ask?
I was going to ask you that you mentioned last time the Hanafi fiqh, the way it came up.
Yes.
Came about it, you made it in such a way that it's the most appropriate for the West. So I would like an elaboration of that, but in comparison to the Shafis and the Malikis and the Hanbalis, why is there more sort of stricter than the Hanafi way?
You know what we're going to do today? We're going for question and answer. Is that good? Yeah. 50 minutes of question and answer. If I can answer, good. If I can't, I can't. About anything you like. That's it. Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it beneficial, and they say a good question is the half of knowledge. A good question is 50% of knowledge. So the way you ask the question is very important. So inshallah, let's go. No questions, I can go home. Yes.
Is there any opinion, it's a bit of a deep question, but is there any opinion that says that injection would break wudu in any madhab?
No. The people, Bismillah alhamdulillah, those who say that it would break the wudu is only when the injection leads to loss of blood, and meaning in the Hanafi fiqh flowing blood, when blood flows over the limbs. So this might be the reason why they would say this. So because maybe there is blood, like blood loss, then that will break your wudu. If not, then it doesn't break your wudu. An injection doesn't break your wudu. Like even if the dentist injects like how do you call that? Into your gum, it doesn't break your wudu either. No. Somebody else?
So taking the blood, I know you do injections, but they inject to take the blood out of you. Does that mean that breaks the wudu?
The Prophet ﷺ did hijama while fasting. So meaning that it has been narrated that he had done hijama while fasting. So and it didn't break his fast. But we believe that when blood flows, then it breaks the wudu.
Flow meaning outside,
Yes, it leaves the body. Yeah.
So I think if he was to donate or draw blood, although it doesn't run down the body, it's being drawn into a syringe or a bag.
But it leaves the body flowing.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's the same thing. No. Somebody else? Yes.
When you do ghusl and you do inhale, rinse out your nose, are you meant to exaggerate it so that it goes here to the bridge of your nose?
No. When we wash the nose, it's only up to there where the bone starts, and we don't exaggerate until it passes the bone. So just putting money like this, we don't need to snort, like get it to the brain and then get a brain freeze, for example. Just here, that's sufficient.
Yeah. Because otherwise, if you're fasting, it would break your fast.
That's another thing. But the Prophet ﷺ told us to be cautious while we are fasting. And then he said, to use a lot of water إلا أن تكون صائما, unless you are صائم.
So it's literally just this initial
This part, there, the soft part,
yeah.
not where the hard part starts. That's the inside. No, we're not going to do that. No. Somebody else? If I had a sheikh in front of me, when I had a sheikh in front of me, or a talib al-ilm, whatever, I would ask like a lot of questions. Unprepared. You need to be prepared to ask questions. I think rather you need to be prepared to answer questions. Yes.
It's hard to remember all the questions you had.
Bismillah. Nothing anymore?
During fasting, when you have a cold, and
that which comes from your own self into your throat, it doesn't break your wudu. It doesn't break your fasting. because it is made on the inside, it's not an external. Somebody else?
Sorry, I couldn't hear the question.
So when you have a cold while you are fasting and it
Yeah.
goes from your nose
Yeah.
to your throat, then it doesn't break your fasting because it's something on the inside of you. So it doesn't break your fast. Yes.
I don't know if you've covered this already and I was absent, but have you done what breaks your fast?
Not yet, no. Well, excuse me?
Shall I wait?
Yes, that's better because we are going to read the book, everything which has to do, yes, with what breaks fasting or not.
Yeah, what's the on the ruling on wearing the headgear?
Yes.
Is it necessary? Is it optional?
You mean for men, right?
For men?
Yes. So what it is, barakallahu fikum, is that back in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and the Arabs would consider not wearing something on your head as going out undressed. It was a part of your dress. Then they would say, our scholars, that while praying, it is a part of your prayer garments, not meaning that if you don't wear it that your prayer won't be accepted, but it would be liked. Because the Prophet ﷺ, they said he was never seen praying without something on his head. So meaning that he would hold on to that. So that's the important part. But as I said, if you don't put something on your head and you pray, your prayer is valid. It doesn't make it invalid, but it is better. So I would advise to do this. They would also advise that whenever you pray, that you ensure that your forehead is visible. So this is why sometimes you see these hats and they have this thing here. Did you see that? In Afghanistan they have that, for example. So the hat is like this, and here there's an opening. And that's because this needs to touch the ground. You see? So this is why also when you wear a turban, you put it a bit backwards so that your forehead touches the ground. So this is something that one should try to do then. But it is more complete. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, خُذُوا زِينَتَكُمْ عِنْدَ كُلِّ مَسْجِدٍ, and beautify yourselves whenever you pray. Meaning that the something on your head when praying is a part of this zina, according to a lot of scholars. Like even in Saudi Arabia, if you would go without something on your head, it would be very impolite. But as I said, it's a very cultural thing. But on the other hand, it's also an Islamic thing. Yani the Prophet ﷺ, and he was not seen praying without something on his head.
So this wasn't just an adab. It was something Prophet said. So it's sunnah.
It is a sunnah, yes. It is a sunnah. Like ada means it's a habit. It is true, but we can't say it's, how can I say, it's a strongly established sunnah if he doesn't say wear something on your head when praying. He was just seen wearing something when praying. So what we take away from it is that he would ensure that his head would be covered when praying. Do you understand? Like even with the wudu, he wouldn't remove his turban. He would put his turban a bit backwards, then he would go over the front of his head, right? So you see that he would even then not wear the turban.
So it wasn't just because it was a cultural thing.
No. Even Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu advised people to wear the clothing of Arabs. But in reality, it shouldn't be an Arabic clothing. It should be mastur. And because the Prophet ﷺ, you shouldn't forget that he used to wear different kinds of clothing. Sometimes a long garment. Sometimes he would wear a trouser with a long shirt below the knees, and a white Turkish kind of trouser, right? You know these Turkish very large ones? Something like that, not exactly the same. And then a long, so he would change, he would wear a lot of things. So there's nothing wrong with wearing the clothes of non-Arabs, because the Prophet ﷺ didn't come to introduce the Arabic garments. But when we pray, we should try to have loose clothing rather than tight clothing. And a lot of men seem to be struggling with this. As I said before, it is a small thing to take something with you that when you pray, you just put it over you, you're covered, you pray. That's it. So that should be done. Anyone praying, Allah. Yeah. Somebody else? Yes.
Just today,
Yes.
your lecture ran a little bit. So
What did you say?
your talk before the
Yes.
Isha went a little bit longer.
Yeah.
That's not a complaint, that's just a statement.
Yes.
And then we had the Isha, and we didn't have the time to do this and that, 4 o'clock and that.
Yes.
Now, where do we stand with that, you know, I mean, if we miss it, we miss, I
You-
mean,
you
I
can't-
could have done it while you're talking, but I
Yes.
decided that'd be more bad, and so what should I have done?
I don't know if I thought I was supposed to speak until 30 past, but if that's not the case, then I'm sorry.
Oh, no, sorry, I'm just saying, what should I have done? You've done what you thought, should I have done something like?
You could have prayed while I was speaking.
If you can't.
You could have.
Oh, okay,
You could have.
okay,
It's no
that,
problem.
I didn't because I
Yes,
thought that was.
you could have.
Thank you.
Are you able to make up your sunnahs in the time period
No.
if you missed them?
In the time period that you missed them, yes.
Yeah, so if it's Isha time and you've missed
Yes, you can.
are
If you
able
didn't,
to, then you can pray them afterwards.
yes, because it's always afterwards.
Yeah.
Yes, but you can't make
Within
up.
the time.
You can't make up the sunnahs that you wanted to pray before Isha, after Isha.
Yes.
Yes, only Dhuhr. The sunnah before Dhuhr, you can make it up after Dhuhr. Because that's a strong recommended sunnah. So, because it has been said that the Prophet ﷺ once missed it and he made them up after Dhuhr. So that's the only one in the Hanafi fiqh which we consider to be of these rawatib which we make up if we miss them.
That was the 4 and the 2.
Yes. But the scholars differ if it's 2 and 4 or 4 and 2. So whatever it is. No? Yes.
So this is a question that came from my friend.
Yes.
What's the word on keeping a beard? Because he had a couple of hairs growing.
Yes.
But then he shaved it off, and then the teacher said that.
Then
he's not
people,
meant to do that.
no.
So what's the word on that? Are you allowed to?
The ruling of the beard can be divided into 4 categories. People who say you're not allowed to touch your beard at all. Whatever it may be, long here, short there, you know, you look like, I don't know, like somebody who just woke up, no problem, you're not allowed to touch it. So that's one category of people. The second category, they're scholars, right, who say that. The second one are those who say everything which is more than a fist. Like if I go like this, I can cut that which comes below my fist. But those who say no, that this can't be correct because that's not a measurement. Like if I'm Shaquille O'Neal, for example, who is 2 meters 16, and I do like this, my hand comes still here, so my beard will be till there. If I then, not to, anyway, so if I'm from Indonesia, for example, my hands might be much smaller, or another country, not all the Indonesians are small, it's with respect that I say this, right? But like, they might have, it sounds very strange, isn't it? But smaller hands. And then their beard might only be till here. So one has to go, and his beard is still here, and the other one is just still here, for example, or like my hand, small hands, in comparison to Shaquille O'Neal. So they say that's not a measurement. And they say, okay, but why do we allow more than a fist? Well, because the companions, more than 10 companions were seen doing this. No? So they did this. So we say, well, it only shows us that one is allowed to touch his beard, rather than the hand being or defining how much one can take away from his beard. So meaning that everything is allowed in removing, in shortening but not in shaving. That's the third opinion. They say whatever amount you take away, yani is allowed. As long as what? As long, even if it's 1 millimeter, that would be allowed. That's not the majority. And we have, in our Hanafi fiqh, we have 2 opinions. And the latter, the last one I've mentioned, is the least popular. But now in the Arabic world, and Dr. Salah al-Hajj wrote an entire book about the beard in Islam. But anyway, so and that would also only be apply to the beard, what the beard really is. Yani the lihya is called lihya because it grows on the lihyayn, and that are the 2 jaw bones, right? So this here, that would be my lihya. Everything which is more than this is not lihya. That's my cheeks. So that has nothing to do with it. And here, now, which comes under it, is my neck. So people going like this are actually not doing anything wrong. And then you have the 4th opinion, and that's the weakest opinion, and they say it's a cultural thing. Well, before their argument didn't seem that strong, but some say, what is the goal behind the beard? It all depends on that. Like if you say the goal of the beard is worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on its own, because Allah created men with a beard. The more they remove it, the stronger it comes back. That's a beard. So they said if it's merely purely worship, then it is in all times recommended to have it, or obligatory. Now, if it is because we don't want to look like non-Muslims, then if that is the goal behind the beard, then well, today might be then the ibadah to remove it because everybody has a beard now. No, it's true, it's fashion, the fashion beards. Everybody likes beards. You even have hairdressers especially for beards doing all these strange things with it, right? So if the goal is not to look like non-Muslims, then now that doesn't apply anymore. If the goal is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by not altering His creation, because eventually it will always come back, they say yes, but then we have, for example, hair under our arms, which we do remove, which we do shave. But then, so isn't that altering creation then? Then we say, no, that's not altering creation. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ told us to do this. So we can't do qiyas, analogy, on that which has been defined by the Prophet ﷺ and that which has not been defined. Is that clear? So this is all the debate. Like this, it goes on pages and pages and pages and pages. I'm of the opinion, Barakallahu Fikum, as you see, if I were to think that it was not allowed, I would not touch it. Right? So I believe you are allowed to shorten it, you are allowed to tidy it up, to take care of it. But according to me, removing it entirely without a true reason is not allowed. Because there are more than 30 hadith about leaving the beard, about letting it grow. And they say, yani, let it grow, the Prophet ﷺ let it grow. Well, the moment that I cut it, I didn't stop it from growing. It's only when I shave it that I stop it from growing. You see? So that's my opinion, that's what I go by. But now, for example, I would say you're a politician and your role is really needed because you need to change something within or you need to stand up for the community. And for example, you go to a meeting where it's not done. I'm just imagining, right? Where it's not from the etiquette to have that beard. I believe then that it would be allowed to remove it. The same thing, for example, people, firemen, for example, I don't know, they need to wear a mask. If they let their beard grow, well, you have all these terrible, how do you call that?
It's not airtight. Yeah.
Then it will not be airtight. Or industrial cleaners or whatever. So it all depends. You have to go to the army, for example, in your country, and they tell you to shave the beard. Well, then you have no choice. You see, so it will all come back down to that. But what if your wife says, I don't like a beard? Well, لا طاعة لمخلوق في معصية الخالق. And there is no obedience to creation when it is a disobedience towards the Creator. So it is only for true reasons. But you can tighten it. And I even think, sometimes when people just let it grow like this and like that, and then they go and they present Islam is beauty, Islam is this. Well, just go by, at least by the Sahaba radiallahu anhu, who would have it round and nice. Anyway, there are 4 opinions.
What about the moustache? Should it be shaven or should it be?
It depends. Like in some madhahib, they would dislike it to be shaven, but they all agree that one should not let the moustache grow over the lip. There should be they should be free of it, and so you should cut it. But yes, you can shave this, or at least you can trim it very short. That's no problem.
But did the Prophet ﷺ have it differently throughout his life? Yes.
Well, the Prophet ﷺ, they say that his beard was naturally round. It stopped growing. It just grew, and he didn't have to do anything. So, yeah. They say the beard of Ali radiallahu anhu was still here, like very long, round. They say you could see his beard from behind, so it all depends. But we know that Abu Jahl had a beard, and that Abu Jahl had a turban, and that Abu Jahl had long Arabic garments. So, and the Prophet ﷺ didn't change this. The only thing he said was to lift our clothing above the ankle. He would encourage this, and like Ibn Hajar and Imam Nawawi said, it is not obliged. It is rather what recommended. Yes.
Talk about the gear and everything, what you wear. So we turn the leg up.
Yes.
Now, is that better, or turn the trouser up so it comes up to the ankle?
None of
Doesn't
that.
matter.
The Prophet ﷺ gave the advice not to roll up anything during prayer. He said, let everything loose in ibadah. So this is why there were some Sahaba radiallahu anhum, and they would have a ponytail. Sahaba with ponytails, yes. Long beards, like these true, men, when you would look at them, you would be inspired with awe and respect, right? So they had their ponytail here, and then the Prophet ﷺ ordered them that whenever they would pray, that they had to undo it, and their hair had to fall down in prostration and in ruku'. So this is why we discourage people to roll up sleeves and roll up pants. It's better to put them then in your socks, because there is a hadith about the Prophet ﷺ telling people not to roll up their sleeves or roll up their pants. And one of the Salafi Mashaykh went so far to say that someone's salah, when rolling it up, is incorrect and not accepted because of the hadith of Rasulullah ﷺ about it, but we don't go that far. We would say it's a slight and don't do it. If you really have to choose the upper parts rather than there where it's seen. Yes, that would be better, yeah.
Somebody was correct in saying that.
Yes, no, that's okay. Somebody else?
Yeah, it's a question about the Fajr.
Yes.
Salah.
Yes.
If you miss it and you want to read Qadar, do you also have to do it in the Sunnah as well?
Well, when you miss your Fajr and the Sunnah of Fajr, you make up your Sunnah. But if you wake up and you prayed your Fajr on time, but you were not able to pray your Sunnah, you don't make your Sunnah up. It's only when you miss your Sunnah and Fard together, then you read both of them. If not, then you don't make up your Sunnah prayer of Fajr.
So is that a stipulation that it has to be before Dhuhr of the day, or can you do it after Dhuhr of the day?
It is when you remember it.
So even if it's Asr time, you remember that you didn't pray your Fajr, you can make your Sunnah up for it at that time as well.
No, it is
The Sunnah is only before Dhuhr.
only before the Sunnah. Yes.
When you miss your Fajr, when you wake up, do you have to do it straight away, or you can do it later on?
Delaying it while being able to do it is a sin. Because the moment you remember it, or the moment you wake up, or the moment you're sane again after losing your mind or being unconscious, from that moment onwards, you are mukhatab. You are being addressed by Allah, and it's a dayn which needs to be paid immediately. And delaying it then is a sin.
And that applies to any prayers.
Yes,
Fajr.
any prayer that you have missed and that you delay. Yes.
So it's a bit different with the qada of the previous years.
Yes, because the qada needs to be structured. If we say that every moment that you don't make up your prayers of 5 years, for example, that you're a sinner, then you have to be praying 24 hours.
Okay.
That would be impossible, right?
Okay.
And that's why scholars say, whenever you have many prayers to make up, then they shouldn't be in order. You can pray a Dhuhr and another Dhuhr and then a Maghrib and Isha and so forth until you are at 5 prayers. The moment you have 5 prayers, they need to be made in order because they consider it to be one worship within the 24 hours. No. You want to ask?
I just have a question about Ramadan. So, fasting person, if they're sick, I know you went over the scenarios, but how do you judge that it's not like your nafs wanting to stop because you're a little bit sick, or if it's a good enough reason?
Doctor.
But the doctor is very hard to find, like a Muslim doctor. Your GP will probably be non-Muslim.
I believe, Barakallahu Feekum, that any doctor will do if there is no Muslim doctor. I don't believe that a non-Muslim doctor will, like, how can I say? Like say, oh, I can let the Muslims stop fasting. Yes, they actually don't think about that. So, but of course, it should be, you can ask for a second opinion, isn't it? And you ask for detail. If they say, no, you better don't fast, say why, and then you need to ask, if I were to fast, would it be bad for me? You see? And then they need to tell the truth. They made an oath, they can't lie, is it? So if you can't find a Muslim doctor, then a non-Muslim doctor will still be better than you yourself trying to elaborate or to find out whether you should be fasting or not. If you understand what I mean. One moment, please. Yes.
Like, for example, somebody who's like a cold, like I can't fast because I've got a cold.
Yes.
Somebody who's like really sick and they're like, I can't break my fast because
Yes.
so what sort of the in between, like?
The in between is when your illness or when fasting will increase your illness or delay your cure or will not allow you to remove the pain you are in, which is not bearable for you, then you break your fast.
This would just be from your personal experience.
Yes. Yes. In the Hanafi fiqh, it's very often that you yourself look at what you can or can't. Nobody can tell you can or you can't. You know on the inside whether you can or not. I mean, somebody has a toothache. Some people, their pain level is level 2. Other, they're in level 7 and they smile. So it's really, also if you feel that you can't do what you have to do, like because you're feverish, you're afraid to fall down. We spoke about that, right? So I think we shouldn't have too much waswas about it either. You know yourself whether you can or you can't. That's the thing.
And I get a lot of questions about like women who are pregnant and fasting, or nursing and fasting.
Yes.
I mean, what's the general hukum?
The general hukum is what Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu said: a pregnant woman or a nursing woman does not have to fast.
Does not.
Have to fast, yeah.
Is that a martyr?
No, that's Abdullah ibn Abbas saying this. That's Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu. It all goes back, like if she can fast and it doesn't affect the baby and it doesn't affect her, then she has to fast. So it's not just because she's merely pregnant that she doesn't fast. It's when it affects her or the baby.
How would she judge that as well?
Doctor.
So it has to be with a doctor.
Yes. For herself she knows, for the baby she doesn't. Like now, if you're pregnant, for example, in the 2nd month, 3rd month, which are still very critical months, isn't it? Then miscarriages in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd month might still appear. So now, if you are now fasting 18 hours, 19 hours, will this affect the growth of the baby, yes or no? Is it good for the baby, yes or no? Is it an individual thing? I will get back to you. Is it an individual thing, yes or no? So, always doctors. That's what doctors are for.
The thing is, the non-Muslim doctor would tend to say, no, don't fast 18, 19 hours a day. But you might know your body, you might know that you can fast that long and it won't affect.
Yourself is a different thing. The baby is another thing. I don't believe that the doctors are like looking for Muslims not to fast. I don't believe this. I believe that they honestly give an opinion. I know bad Muslim doctors and I know very good non-Muslim doctors.
So Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas said she doesn't have to fast.
Yes, Abdullah ibn Abbas said the nursing woman, the pregnant woman doesn't have to fast. No.
But you partly answered the question in the sense, you should be your best judge.
Yes.
Whether you fast or not.
No.
Because trying to get a doctor appointment here will take 3 weeks.
No, it doesn't.
In that
If you call before 8, you get it on the same day. Your area, okay. You can have online as well now. They do online, which makes it very easy as well.
And when you're ill and you break your fast,
Yes.
then you don't have to make that up by 60 because you've broken the fast.
No, if you are honestly feeling that you were too sick to fast, but it's not just because you have a small headache, right? It's really you're ill, like really ill. Then that's okay. So, yes.
So I'm trained to be a science teacher, and in the next few weeks I'm going to teach about evolution to children. I think there's a lot in the curriculum that is against Islam.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any advice that you could give me in terms of where I stand as a teacher and my role and how to teach that, and as well as there being Muslim children in the house?
Do we say against Islam or do we say doesn't stroke with Islam?
Yeah, that.
That's a very big difference, right?
Yeah.
Because if we say it's against Islam, then we're going to think they want to. I know what you mean. Yeah, yeah. So, and so now your question is, what do you do with that? Do you mean passing it on to the children or during your studies?
Both. I think in terms of where I sit in teaching that, when I know it doesn't sit side by side with Islam, as well as knowing that there's children of the same faith.
Yeah.
That.
Things like evolution theory, for example,
Yeah. So it's
and gender issues, and these kind of things.
yeah. There's a lot.
The thing is, one, and I'm sorry, I'm usually very careful, but one cannot just teach people the evolution theory without pointing out that it is not true. As a Muslim teacher, unless you say there is a theory, it has been said, this is one opinion, and you try to indirectly say that there are also creationists, there are this, there are that. So you are going to indirectly, speak about it, and then you say, and people who have a belief, they don't believe this, but without giving the impression that you're preaching.
Yeah, because they've categorically said that because you're not an Arabic teacher, you
Yes.
can't speak to religion.
Mhm.
So
The problem is science became a religion. Science is a religion now. It tells us what to do, what not to do, what to believe, what not to believe, and if you don't believe it, then you're crazy. It's very difficult, isn't it? So I think then what you should do, because that will be your job, you can't just not do your teaching, but then you will definitely have to nuance the way you say it. Like there is a theory, and a theory is still a theory, isn't it? A theory is not a fact. Do they see it as a fact now?
science do, yeah.
Subhanallah.
It's
With all the missing links. That's very strange. Even with the new bodies that have been found and that mess up all the theory. Anyway, I really can't tell. I think this is in need of a higher. I'm going to ask my sheikh. Welcome. Yes.
So a different opinion I've got. So when you're doing wuzu and you kind of done your first wuzu first thing in the morning, put your socks on everything, normal socks.
Yes.
Your leather socks.
Yeah, I understand.
Just an ordinary pair of socks.
Yes.
And some say that will last you for 24 hours.
Mm.
And when you were doing wuzu, if you broke it, you wipe it, and they just wipe it. That kind of thing.
Yes.
Is that
We spoke about that in detail in the classes, but in no, that's okay. But in very brief,
yeah.
just thin socks do not suffice. They need to be strong socks, thick socks, and that's one opinion, which I believe to be true, by the way. But like very thin socks, like when a drop falls on your sock and it, is immediately touching your skin, then you're not allowed to do that. So they should be like thick socks. Anyway, we spoke about that. It's on YouTube, I think, right? Yes. But just, I can't really see your socks now.
So, they're not thin socks, but
Yeah. The best thing is to buy these wudu socks in Turkey. They don't cost a lot.
And they're the one which got leather in the middle of it.
No.
Or just
They are like diving material.
Oh, right.
But it's a kind of diving material. It's very nice.
And you can wear that 24 hours without any problem.
Yes. Without any problem, I don't know. Maybe it's not that healthy, but yes, you can wipe over them. Yeah.
There's companies, there's for seal skin and deck shell, they do them as well.
That's the one.
Deck shell.
Deck shell. Yes.
Question about the teaching.
Yes. What?
I teach English
Yes.
online.
Yes.
So they assign tutors with the lesson.
Mhm.
Slides, and there are different topics. And sometimes there are topics about these Greek dog, not dog, gods, and this and that.
Yes.
So, and it's we are very, very restricted to talk about religion.
Yes.
Different things about politics, and so. And I cannot change the topic as well.
Yes.
I have to go through the lesson with the student.
Subhanallah. That's okay. It's just language.
Okay.
It's just language. You're not affirming anything. It's okay. Like in the books of tafsir, you find poems about drinking wine and about being in love with, and you read it when you read the books of tafsir, don't you? So it's just look at it as a cultural thing. You're not like you're just teaching people language. Yeah. But you can go like when you read it, you say La ilaha illallah. Somebody else? Yes, and then it's you.
So we say that blood, and say any pus or anything that comes out from a spot, for example. Is there a difference if you sort of squeeze your skin and the pus comes out, or if it just comes out naturally?
There is a difference of opinion whether this breaks it or not. So yeah.
So which one is it regardless if whichever way it comes out, it breaks it?
Yes.
So regardless.
Yeah. Yes.
So what's the ruling on like faces and pictures on walls?
Faces and pictures on walls. That's the last one for today. I believe we are not allowed to hang pictures. I'm allowed. I believe that we are allowed to have pictures. Okay. So the Prophet ﷺ said that the angels do not enter a house where there are pictures or statues of living species. If it is of nature, there's no problem. If it's of animals or living beings, like human beings, it's not permitted. Now they say that taking a picture is okay. Having them is okay as well. Based on the hadith in al-Bukhari where the Prophet ﷺ came back from a long journey to the house of Aisha radiallahu anha, and she had a curtain on which there were pictures of an animal. I forgot whether it was a camel or a horse, or anyway, it was a living, it was an animal. And then the Prophet ﷺ didn't want to get into the house. And then he looked at the curtain, and Aisha radiallahu anha knew that was the reason. So then she took it away, and then he said, it is not befitted for me to enter into a house where living creatures are being exposed or. But then he told her to turn it into a pillow and into a blanket. Now if it was a haram to have the picture, then he wouldn't have asked her to turn it into a pillow. Do we agree? Because what is haram to make is haram to have. What's haram to have is haram to sell. It's haram to use. So now scholars took away from this that whenever it is in a non-honoring, venerating position, that there wouldn't be a problem with it. Now they say, what then about the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the people who will be punished the most on the Day of Judgment are those who who draw living creatures. But we shouldn't forget that the Prophet ﷺ added to that, يُضَاهُونَ بِهَا خَلْقَ اللَّهِ, that the reason why they do this is because they want to compete with Allah's creation. Like, look at us, we are doing it as well. So I believe that making drawings is no problem, that having them is no problem. For educational purposes, there is no problem. If you need to do it because you want to become an architect, and at a certain point you need to draw things, there is no problem. As long as you don't hang them up on your walls. I believe that when you hang them on the walls, the angels don't come into your house, or at least not into that room. So put them somewhere, and that's okay. No.
This mention about the height.
She was first. Yes.
So it's just an extension as well. So does that? I assume I thought that it was actual faces, but so even if there's photos of people looking away.
No, that wouldn't be a problem. Some say. Others say it shouldn't have a head. So when the head is not seen, there's no problem. There is another opinion within the madhab, is when the picture is in such a way that the limbs are not defined. They can be on the wall. Meaning, like sometimes you have these calendars of people around the Kaaba, but you can't distinguish, you really can't see what it is. This wouldn't be a problem either. They say, okay, but how defined can it or can't it be? Like one of the opinions in the Maliki madhab is that when you put the picture on the ground and you stand above the picture and you look down, that you don't see the definition. If from that distance you can't see it, but from closer you can, there is no problem. So that would then be the what? So there are so many different opinions in this. I believe that one should try his best not to have it at all on the walls. If you want to have it on your phone, you want to have it on, in your cupboard, whatever, there is no problem. No. Yes.
About the hats.
Yes.
So praying with it's better, and is it the same with the caps?
The caps, actually Ataturk told the Turks to use this. You mean these old?
No, these.
The caps. How are you going to pray with the cap?
Huh?
The cap's like this.
When you turn it,
Yes.
people that say,
Back to front. Back to front.
I don't believe there would be a problem. I heard a fatwa of Muhammad bin Salih al-Uthaymeen rahimahullah azza wa jal when he was in America, a Salafi, and he said this is a tashabbuh bil kuffar. Now he said when you use this you look like a kafir. So he said he would not allow it. Anyway, he said it was bad for the eyes because your vision, you have a vision like this, and when you always have something here, you will, I don't know if it's true, right? That's what was said. You will eventually be the reason why why you're losing a certain dimension of your sight and so much more, I don't know. But anyway, I don't have a problem with caps. You can do that, yes. Now you have these caps without this. They are round and at the back they are the same. You saw that? Yes. Last question.
Just about pets and najas and food. So the majority of pet food
Yes.
has leftover pig stuff because that's the cheapest meat. It's only if you buy organic pet food, which is a bit more expensive, that doesn't have that. Is it permissible to feed your, for example, cats, the food that has the pork in it?
Dr. Salah Abul Hajj in detail spoke about this, and he said one is allowed to buy that, and he gave a very long explanation about what mal is, what wealth is, what isn't wealth, and according to him, that would be allowed. So I just pass on his fatwa.
To buy it and then
Yes, to buy it. Yes, 100%. He said it was allowed. Because you're not buying pork for yourself, and even though that pork you can't buy pork, is it? That wouldn't be allowed because you're not allowed to spend money on it. But there he gave an exception for pet food. Allahu alam why.
then you'll have the najasa.
You have a najasa problem in your house as well, but that was his fatwa. So I'm just passing on the fatwa. I'm not giving the fatwa because that's the only thing I heard about it. So I have my own things in my head, but if I didn't hear it from my sheikh, I can't pass it on. So that's what I heard from him. Allahu alam.
He was the best.
Yes, he's one of my mashaykh in the Hanafi fiqh. Yes, and he's a very outstanding faqih and mufti. And
His book was
yes, he wrote more than 100 books, all about fiqh. Some of them 5-6 volumes.
where's he based?
He's based in Jordan, and he's the head of the Hanafi fiqh department, and he writes the curriculum for the universities in Hanafi fiqh, and he has revived the Hanafi fiqh in Jordan, and he's very often even invited in India and other places in Pakistan to teach people Hanafi fiqh. Even the muftis, the Taqiyuddin, the Uthmanis, they come to him then ask him for advice. So yeah, he's quite.
The book we're studying, is it just ibadat or is it muamalat?
No, the book we're studying is just Sawm, I'tikaf, and Eid, and Taraweeh. No.
Just last quick one.
Yes, if you.
Aftershave carrying.
Excuse me?
Aftershave.
No problem,
No problem.
because it's not true alcohol. Some would do it out of wara. Out of wara means out of cautiousness, but the alcohol which is within perfume and aftershave and so much more is chemically produced and is thus not najis, which it would be if we were to use wine or other things which would have this. This goes through a chemical process, and it's not the same alcohol that we have, which we derive, for example, from that. So our scholars would say it's not najis.
And you can do so. You put it on Eid namaz.
Yes, no problem. Yes, yes. I have my other teacher, Sheikh Dr. Ashraf Munib in Hanafi fiqh. He said it is allowed, but a traveler to the hereafter shuns it, stays away from it, just because of the name of it. You understand? Even though that the reality is different, but the knowing that the name is the same doesn't feel right. You understand what I mean? So this was his advice when we were walking in 2008 over the mountains in Jordan. So I asked him about this. He said, fiqhan it's okay, but wara'an it is not. No. It's better to stay away from it. But it is not haram, it's not najis. Now, because it's not because we don't look at the name, we look at the reality. It is not the name which turns it najis. If tomorrow they call water khamr, for example, they call water wine, well, I'm not going to look at the name, I'm going to look at the reality. And that's the same with banks. They say this is not riba. Well, I need to see the reality. And maybe it is riba, and maybe that which you call riba isn't riba. You understand what I mean? So we're not going to look at names, we are going to look at realities. And that's the last thing I would say, because Iblis, lanatullahi alayhi, the only thing he did to convince Adam was change the name. You know, when he told Adam, this is Shajaratul Khuld, this is the tree of eternity. So then all of a sudden he gave a nice name to a haram thing. But the nice name didn't change the reality. The tree was haram for them to approach. Yes, last.
The same with this 0% beer. So I mean, beer.
You look at it, but our scholars would say with halal beer, where there is 0.00000%, our scholars, the scholars that I know, and that's my opinion, is stay away from it. Because of the name and because it is like mocking the deen. You understand what I mean? So even if the reality is that there is nothing in it, if they would call it lemonade, no problem. But you're calling it the same name which Allah made haram. So even though that in essence, and also the taste seems to be the same. People told me who became a Muslim and drank beer before. I didn't like alcohol before I became a Muslim. Allah, alhamdulillah, Allah protected me against that. But they say that the taste is the same. And it can be a step up. And also you get used to using the name beer. Like in the mouth of a Muslim. Yeah, give me the halal beer, bro. What are you doing? So I don't, and then you have the same kiddie bull champagne. Champagne for kids. It's kiddie bull. You know that? Kiddie bull, like Red Bull, kiddie bull? Anyway, so it's kiddie bull champagne. You have that. You have chocolate cigarettes for children. All of that we're not going to do. Because we say it's not allowed, saddan lidhari'ah. Because we want to protect evil from getting into the community. Is that clear? So we need to take that into consideration, because eventually they will get used to the name and to the thing and to the taste. Yes, same thing. The mocktails would be different. Even if it has, like you have mojito and you have, they call it the virgin mojito, meaning that there is no alcohol in it. Well, there's no problem there because it's just mint with some lemon, with some ice. And so we would not say don't drink that. No? So, and they even call it mocktail, right? A mocktail. It's mocking the cocktail. So anyway, so no, I wouldn't go that far, because then eventually we will not even be allowed to make it ourselves, right? Please, I like that in summer. Don't make it haram for me. No. So, but I think it's obvious what we are trying to get to. Like, subhanallah. May Allah reward you for your time. And I'm so sorry I forgot the book. Usually that doesn't happen, but the only one who doesn't forget is Allah.